All right, guys, welcome back. It's me, Daniel with VintageMagic.com, and today's video is all about Gen Con. Yes, Gen Con's slogan is the best 4 days of gaming, and it is an event that I actually used to attend. I attended about 3 or 4 of them, and it was really fun. I call it a way to get away from normal life and play a lot of games, do a lot of deals, eat a lot of good food. I forgot the restaurant there. It was like Elmo's Steakhouse, St. Elmo's Steakhouse, I believe, in Indianapolis, Indiana, and they have like this incredible, colossal jumbo shrimp, this shrimp cocktail that has an insane amount of horseradish, but awesome place to go to. So I want to go over some things about Gen Con because it's coming up next week. I think it starts like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but people are getting in on Wednesday. So first off, there's an old school Magic tournament going on. It's the tournament organizer there. It's not held by like any specific organizer, but it's an individual named Edward. And this is his 3rd annual old school Magic tournament. It is, and I'll read the details here. I will also put the details in the link and the details below, so you can kind of go through that yourself. All right, so Ed says this is our 3rd year tournament at Gen Con for old school. He has dedicated a small group of dedicated players that helps him run the tournament. Each year he rotates the old school Magic rules. Yeah, that's interesting, to keep the playing environment fresh. I like that. That's interesting. I like that. This way it's not just Eternal Central, Swedish, Atlantic, Fish Liver. I don't know. I mean, there's so many different rules now. I've lost count of what there are. Even the good old guys at the Beasts of the Bay have their own rule set, just about, I think. All right. So next is, yes. This year we are using French Boars rules. I'll put the link below on what this is all about, his Facebook and all that, so you can read all the details there. The tournament is free for everyone who wants to play, and is on Wednesday, July 31st. Wednesday, July 31st at 6 p.m. at the JW Marriott High Velocity Bar. JW Marriott, by the way, is the higher end hotel. So it's kind of more modern. It's one of the newer hotels in Indianapolis, Indiana for Gen Con. So definitely a nice place to go. He says the space is limited, and this year's tournament is capped to 32 players. That's it. That's not that many at all, man. So if you want to play, link will be below. Currently, there are 26 players registered. 26. What is included are some free tournament prizes. The top 8 will receive play mats that'll be supplied by one of the players. It's a special play mat. Can't tell you what it is yet. Also, the first place winner will receive a Gen Con 4-day badge, courtesy of Peter Atkinson and Gen Con for 2020. So next year's Gen Con 2020, the first place winner will get a free 4-day badge. That's a pretty cool prize. Thank you, Peter. I will put Peter's information about his Gen Con YouTube channel and his Twitch Twitch channel below, so you can check that out. Lots of cool history of Magic stuff going on. Other prizes for the 4-day promo class are the following. So Peter has given out a total, I think, 4 4-day passes, and for people with the best deck with no Power 9, that's pretty cool. Another one is raffled in general for free. That's really neat. And let's see, the high spot. For some reason, I'm reading this wrong. I think, wait, 40 pass and no Power 9, high spot in edition. Okay, all right. Well, I guess there was supposed to be 4. Maybe there's only 3. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. All right, so there's apparently 3. And then each person will receive a raffle ticket. And at the beginning of the second round of play, the raffle ticket will be drawn at the end of the tournament. So that's kind of for the raffle 4-day badge. And then, oh, sorry, my bad. There's also one more 4-day promo badge given away, but it's a surprise at the end of the tournament. So no wonder I did not know. So there is a surprise 4-day badge for the end of the tournament. Thank you, Edward. All right, and then lastly, there is an altered card that's going to be raffled off for $5, and all proceeds will go to the restoration of the Notre Dame Cathedral in France. So that's really neat. The website is called oldschoolgencon.com, and I have the link of it, of the Facebook group, in the description below. Okay, so be sure to check it out. If you are going to Gen Con, please let me know in the comments below. I love to hear your experience. I've never played with the French Boars rules. Someone have to explain to me what the hell that is, but that's really interesting. So Gen Con, by the way, for those of you who do not know, is actually when I first started my first business in 2009, we actually were at Gen Con in like the Entrepreneurs Hall. So basically, Gen Con allocated some more affordable booths that were available for entrepreneurs starting out, and that's kind of cool. And we essentially, I should have kept going with it, but I realized that vending is really hard, and I didn't have the time, and we were still building our website. And at the time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with the company. I didn't know if I wanted to be just a kind of more of a social media network, or a starting like kind of a TCG player thing, or did I want to do older cards and sell like what we have today at Vintage Magic. So it was kind of one of those things where didn't know the identity. So Gen Con was great. I remember going with my friend at the time, Troy, my girlfriend at the time, and Dennis, my other friend, and all these people I haven't seen for years. And I actually met one of my good friends, Al there, that was not my friend at the time, but we met there. And that was really cool. And we began our friendship, and I've been Al's friend, man, it's been over pretty much a decade now. So that's pretty awesome. I think it was actually Gen Con 2010, now I think about it. So it's almost a decade that I've spent time with Al. And I gotta say, Gen Con is one of those, if you guys ever done like a class reunion thing, Gen Con is basically like a class reunion every year. So basically what you're doing is it's like a high school class reunion, 10-year reunion, and you basically see people you haven't seen for years. And there might be some people that you don't like and you see them online and you still see them too. And what's funny about it is you all get together and play games, and everybody's kind of on neutral grounds. It's like the 48th or 49th parallel, whatever the hell it is, in the DMZ in North Korea, South Korea. It's kind of like that. You all play some games, like each other or not, hate each other, bust your balls online, and you go full out, just love each other and play games. I don't know if you love each other. But at the time, there was no old school. At the time, Gen Con actually had a history of holding the Vintage and Legacy Championship, World Championship. So at the time, there was only one event that had that. So it was held at Gen Con. So you had to buy a badge and play that event. So Steve Menendian, Paul Mastriano, all those guys over the years, and I know like Rick Shea, those guys have played the Vintage Championships. And that event is now called Eternal Weekend, which is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I believe Top Deck Games holds that as an organizer for that. But it used to be held at Gen Con for many years, so the Vintage and the Legacy tournament. And so that changed, I think, about 4 years ago, something like that, 4 or 5 years ago. Don't quote me on that. And that, that evolved, and there was some issues about security, and there was a lot of expensive cards, and people thought, that made no sense. Why don't we make a whole weekend and tournament thing out of it? So anyway, that kind of is the backstory on that. And old school kind of was rising. People play with their decks maybe here and there, but it was mostly for collectors. What's cool about Gen Con, and what I noticed, is that it has a lot of games you would not normally play. It doesn't matter if you're interested in Pathfinder, D&D, other board games, but there's so many games, so many things that you would never even think of. And that's what's so cool about it, is you can play games. I think they have like hundreds of different like off sessions in different halls and different rooms, and you could try out, test different games. And this is where your imagination of gaming can go wild. I mean, I didn't have a ton of time, But I wish I had infinite time and I stayed up infinitely long because there was so many infinite games you could play. And it was really cool to see everybody just, as cosplayers all over the place. And it has, incredible amount of just like a camaraderie you don't see at a Magic Fest, if you know what I mean. Another thing I really thought was awesome was the Artist Alley was insane. Like we're talking like 100+ artists, just tons of cool Magic artists, fantasy artists, different authors, different people in the world of fantasy. And it's really cool, that you see all of them in one room. And that also attracted me to Gen Con. Another thing that really I thought with Gen Con was cool was, there's a lot of like opportunities for you to buy stuff, like lots of stuff for, your collection, or it could be anything. So at the time, Magic was so like vibrant there. It was, I think Wizards was a lead sponsor, a big sponsor there. And I know that over the years, things have changed. Magic has it still has some kind of presence. I believe they're doing some type of rundown of learning how to play Commander and different things, but their resources have shifted to Magic Fest and also Grand Prix rather than committing the resources to Gen Con. So that was smart by them. I have to say that actually made sense because having your own Grand Prix circuit allows you to have more control of it. It's advertised to you, what you're doing, rather than having a bunch of different games. You're kind of lost in this maze of, just craziness for 4 days. So I think overall it worked out good for everybody, but Gen Con still is the biggest convention of its kind in the world, I believe. And I think Peter Atkinson and all the people there have done an amazing job. I actually want to take my kids there when they're a little older. We can go there maybe once a year type of thing. I still think it's a great place to go. I got to say, it's one of those things where you can get lost very easily. If you were like just a teenager or a younger kid, it's very, very busy. We're talking like, I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, but in some cases you're like crammed in with people. It's pretty busy, right? So keep in mind, it's kind of that kind of mentality. It's a crammed, whereas when you go to a Grand Prix, you'll notice there's a lot of players, but the room tends to be very more open compared for the vendors. You notice how the vendors, there's a separation. And for Gen Con, it's more intimate. That's what I would call it. So be sure to understand that. Also, some tips. I want to tell you some tips in this video. One of the things I realized, if possible, I know this is a very obvious tip, but some of you guys are on budgets, is number one tip I have is go direct. Fly direct. Yep. You're probably asking me, Dan, I don't have an airport that takes me direct to Indianapolis. That's where it is. Well, then fly 2 flights. That's fine. But do not do 3 flights, 4 flights, some crazy exotic thing, go to Tahiti, Australia and come back. I'm just kidding. But do not do that because it's not effective. What you want to do is take one flight, and you'll feel a lot better. I tried to do that before, the multiple flights, try to save a couple $100. Don't do it. It's bad, especially for Gen Con. It's quite the experience. Another thing I realized about Gen Con is number 2, hydrate. Hydrate. Yeah. I think at the time I still was drinking, so there's times where I've drank a lot, and I think the first year I drank. I think maybe first, second year. I don't even remember. But the whole point is that's what I'm saying. You end up going there. You're not only drinking, but you're also playing games, and you're up for a long time. And finally, you realize, wow, I didn't drink enough water. The other thing, it's hot as hell there sometimes. Sometimes it's like 90 or 100 degrees, and it's like maximum humidity. It's like, man, you're sweating. You take a shower from the hotel. You get out of the hotel, and your balls are literally dripping with water everywhere. You're soaking. So bring lots of water. Remember, if you drink ice cubes with your water, cold water is harder for your body. It takes more energy for it to digest, to become, so it takes more energy. So drink just normal room temperature water. It'll actually let you get hydrated faster. But I say all this because I learned that because when it was so hot, I was just like, man, it was crazy. It was just nuts. All right, another tip is some of you guys are cosplaying and all that. I get it. But another tip, dress appropriately. What I mean by that is if you think this place is going to be, because it's so hot, you don't want to wear things that are super tight, super uncomfortable. Remember, you're going to be gaming for hours and hours and hours. Do not wear, I think the first year when I did this vending thing, we wore like a polo shirt, or no. I'm sorry, a suit, like a suit coat almost, or I was wearing like a button-up shirt. That I wanted to go this corporate fancy style. And the reality is, it sounds good in theory, but when it's hot as a motherfucker, hot as hell, it sucks. So don't do it. Do not do it. Wear something comfortable. Wear something that's, if you're sweating and all that stuff, you're not going to have a bunch of armpit stuff, all that. That brings up the next thing. Your hygiene. I know. I know. Diet, bad for you. I know. Make sure, bring that deodorant. Make sure you take your showers. Make sure you can take 2 showers if you go back to the hotel room. Clean off yourself because it stinks. I'm telling you, public service announcement. If you're playing a game with tons of different people of all types of different hygiene, I would really ask that you guys all consider taking care of your business, because I just don't want to smell while I'm playing. I want to focus on my game. I don't want that to be a distraction to my ability to beat my opponent, if you know what I mean. I think you know what I mean. All right, next. Next is the hotel. Make sure, like I was saying about the flight, make sure you stay at a hotel that is near the convention. It's probably already sold out, so you're shit out of luck. So you're probably going to have to get one by the airport. But if you're watching this video for next year, 2020, stay at a hotel, for the love of God, near the convention, and do it early. That's another tip. Don't wait last minute. Do not be the procrastinator. The hotel prices, they increase like insane amounts. I mean, I remember one year we paid like $700 for a room at the Crown Plaza or something because they pretty much could. And you got to do it early. They have blocks, right? They sell some at a certain price and some at a certain price. And, there are some nicer hotels. I know that like the JW Marriott, the most recently new one, has some really nice hotels. I know there's a Hilton there. I know that, there's a couple other ones. I think we stayed at one called the Alexander a while back. That's a pretty nice one. That's not by the convention center officially, but it's, nicer. So you can find deals. Do not skimp on a location of the hotel if you plan on doing a lot of stuff there. And lastly, I just want to just let you guys know, have a ton of fun and be safe. I know that a lot of you guys at Gen Con are going to go crazy, drink maybe too much, but have a lot of fun. Be safe. Be kind to each other. Gen Con is very diversity inclusive. I'm wearing, people have asked me, what are these rainbow shirts? It is to celebrate the Pride Month. I think that was June, in June 2019. And I got the shirt in Tokyo, and I thought it was really beautiful and nice. And, I have lots of friends and clients and people all around the world I've met that are, they have, their own choice. They, it doesn't matter if, and I don't remember the LGBT, I don't know the exact, the terminology, but whatever, choice you make in your life, I think it's great. You have to be supportive of that. And people are people. People have their own choice. Just because people have, their choice of their partner doesn't necessarily, doesn't mean that they're bad people, right? And so you have to accept that and respect that and give them that respect, because Gen Con is really cool about that. I know that they posted a while back that, they were really supporting people of that type of, they're fighting with, I believe, like the Indiana government or something. There was some kind of ban or something that we're going to do towards people that, like, they can refuse service to people that were basically of the gay, lesbian, that community, trans community. They're trying to basically put laws against them, and there's like a religious act or something. And so Gen Con stood up and said, hey, look, if there's not support for this is a belief that it's all inclusive, right? Gaming is all inclusive, you know, this kind of hate is something we don't want to be a part of in this town. So I'm glad it seems like they've kind of resolved that issue, but Gen Con is really big on that. So I think that's great to have. And our community is really great on that. I think oftentimes there's a lot of hate in gaming communities, a lot of jealousy, a lot of stupid stuff. But I think what's one of the most beautiful things about it is we have people in all different parts of the world. It doesn't matter what kind of religion, you know, it doesn't matter what you believe in. It's awesome. So have a lot of fun. Be safe. I can't go this year. Otherwise, I do some videos, hang out with you guys. But Ed, thank you for all the old school tournament stuff you're doing. Thank you for organizing that. I will put all of Ed's old school tournament information below. And be sure to check it out and go there and say hi and play. Even if you can't play, you can still go there and say hi and drink some beers or drink some water or drink some Diet Coke like I do and just have a good time and meet some old schoolers. I'm sure they'll have some pickup games and stuff like that. You can hang out with them. All right, guys, take care. Talk soon. Have fun, guys, at Gen Con 2019.